Indigenous crops have been and will remain very significant in the development of Uganda's agricultural sector as well as a source of livelihood to many of the people. They form a strong food security base because many of them can withstand severe weather changes and can also grow on average soils. They are cheap, easily accessible, and when harvested, many of them have a long shelf life. Others can also remain unharvested for a relatively long time. Indigenous crops are also important for providing a wide range of social, cultural, economic, and medicinal values amongst the different communities. Above all, indigenous crops play a vital role in balancing agricultural biodiversity, providing a wide genetic base for developing new crop varieties. Therefore, indigenous crops are an indispensable pillar in sustainable agricultural development processes. Today, however, the number of people depending upon cultivating and/or preserving the indigenous crops has dropped drastically, sending a wave of fear amongst some sections of the society.
That
they have variety of cassava, like the bailo, kegire, tenze, but these days they are not there. There are new varieties that cannot even yield well, and they are susceptible to disease by now.
Participatory Ecological Land Use Management, PELAM in short, a network of non-government organizations that are working with farmers to ensure sustainable agricultural development, is also concerned about the loss of a wide range of indigenous foods. To this effect, they are implementing a comprehensive strategy to reverse this worrying trend.
As PELAM, our core business is promoting sustainable agriculture. We look at an agriculture that will consider sustainability of the natural resources. So we don't want some plant species and animal species to keep disappearing. We want these to continue for today and also for many more years to come. We are also looking at aspects of food security, where we have quite a number of indigenous foods that have a long shelf life, issues to do with climate change adaptation. We are also looking at an agriculture that provides for income. So when you look at this holistic picture of agriculture in terms of sustainability, in terms of food security, in terms of income, you find that indigenous food contribute a lot to all these aspects. But the problem is that all these aspects are not known or fully exploited. So we started promoting indigenous food in 2008. We were able to mobilize farmers to get those indigenous foods, and then they came together in a big indigenous food fair, which also had competitions. And we were able to award the farmers who exhibited a number of indigenous foods in terms of variety and doing some kind of documentation and promoting of this food. Then from there we also had an Africa-wide symposium which brought together 10 countries, and we had exhibitions of indigenous food. But since we discovered a very big documentation gap, we are doing a lot of documentation.
And so, PELAM Uganda partnered with the National Agricultural Research Organization to conduct a survey research to identify and document some of the existing indigenous foods in the various regions of Uganda and to establish why, despite their immense benefits, communities are discarding them. The research team was headed by Dr. Beatrice Akelo, the director of the National Semi-Arid Resources Research Institute.
Having done this study in the various places of Uganda, the trend is the same everywhere. The utilization of indigenous foods is on the decline for several reasons. One, they are not easily available like they used to be before, many years ago, because they are now competing with new technologies. And then previously you would find them growing in, say, places where it's fallow land. Now fallow land has reduced. People are continuously cultivating the land, and therefore Some of these have disappeared. But most importantly, because of the changing trends in people's lifestyle, the younger generation are no longer interested in consuming these indigenous, foods. Many of them, because of the influence of the Western culture, think they are cheap. Now, our cultures in Uganda, for example, are passed on from generation to generation orally. A mother, for example, teaches a daughter how to prepare vegetables, but we see that on the decline. And because this knowledge has not been documented, written down, it is difficult for the younger people to capture it. And so many of them see even these plants and do not know how to utilize them.
And also there is hardly any integration of indigenous knowledge in the education system, same with the agricultural trainings.
And of course, a lot of extension and research efforts are pushing, the newer varieties more.
So, the documented findings of this survey research will go a long way to inform many of the interventions designed for promoting indigenous food crops in the country. In that direction, Pelham Uganda is networking with like-minded organizations operating the various parts of the country to support their efforts in revitalizing the use of indigenous knowledge, foods, and trees as one of the strategies to improve people's livelihoods. Community Integrated Development Initiatives, CD, is a national non-government organization operating in the Teso region to, among other things, encourage the farmers to grow their indigenous food crops using the recommended agronomic practices.
We have tried as much as possible to encourage farmers to store their seeds, but we have also encouraged the multiplication and demonstration gardens. We encourage farmers in their groups to have multiplication gardens. And these gardens, after the harvest, each household goes ahead to plant these seeds. For example, this cassava that we gave out, it has multiplied in the households of the members.
CD believes that if given the same treatment as the improved ones, the indigenous crops will improve their yields and hence a formidable source of food and income within their midst. In the West Nile region, Environmental Alert is promoting important food security crops and medicinal plants. The bambara nut is one of the indigenous delicacies in the region, which the project is promoting to boost people's food security and income base.
This is bambara nut in English. In Madi it is called songo. It is eaten both when it is fresh, like the G-nut, boiled. It can also be used in multiple form. This one can boil and make sauce out of it. You can eat it with kalo, with cassava, with sweet potato, and it is tasty with cassava. The good thing with it is that the weevils can't attack it. It has a hard seed coat. Let alone that also the shell that was removed from is very hard, making it to be what? Lifelong in even storage. It can go up to 5 years. Another good thing with bambara nut is that it is drought resistant, and even during dry season it can remain productive. It had been here over years, but with time it is becoming extinct. This is cowpeas. It is called osso in Madi. It is one of the staple foods that our great parents were even eating. It has high protein content, and it cooks very fast. It is used for sauce making, and they make about varieties of sauce with it. It can be pound, and then they make sauce called the lendrupe out of it. It can also boil like the bean. You can fry it. You can paste it using simsim paste, groundnut paste, and you can also mix it with vegetables And peculiar with it is that you can also boil it and mix it together with sweet potato chips. It has high energy value, so farmers use it to make sauce while they go to dig. But it's getting extinct.
The utilization of indigenous knowledge in day-to-day life, for example, in the preservation of seed is also high on the agenda.
After harvesting, you let it dry. After drying, you have to mix with the traditional leaves we are putting. Cypress and Nima, that one is good. The beetles will never eat the seeds. And you have to store in a cool, dry place. If you put in a hot place, the thing will suffocate. Next time, you will not get a good seeds, and it will never germinate.
In the Busoga region, the Organization for Rural Development, or RUDE, is promoting Mawalampa maize variety, one of the indigenous maize breeds formerly grown in the region. According to the farmers, Mawalampa maize variety should be promoted because even though it takes a little longer than the hybrid varieties to mature, it has superior traits which, if developed with good agronomic practices, can deliver the communities out of poverty. With ample information and practice, the communities have realized that the new improved varieties they had adopted could not be replanted, and yet many farmers cannot purchase new seed every other season.
Obuno obuduma nze tyalina sente nayiza muduuma ole mwene inakolaki ye nalima kukoolwo wa lulimo lulala aye era yaloba obuduma bwataaku buno butono endawulo yembaire ndi kukobaku duuma ono ni duuma ole twamusimbira kulala aye engeri akasana bwe kayakamu duuma ono yajja bujje yasowola era obuduma buyataaku butono sengoole ye yakuuma kuuku akaseera amaadi bugagwire yatakuduma ategereke kaye buno buduma butono nendawulo yembaire ndi kukoba nti duuma ono ye batulimba limbono owabasuubuze duuma muki taguminkiriza mbeera yansi
bando wa duuma ono womuleeta n'omusa n'omugoja banaaduuduula banaawoma wayaganange niwo oli omukaja olya buli wakolaki duuma oyo ye mubona oyo batuleetere omugoja akawunga n'amale nako ibirisa twakaaga aye duuma ono nigamale weeks takaaga.
Come the drought time, the other maize gets so affected that we used to lose. When you plant like an acre, we could easily lose out. Then when you compare to this one is so resistant to drought. When you plant it and it rains on the plant, even when it is attacked by sunshine, the maize will always still keep growing as compared to the other one. The other, we went into the other just because it was brought in by business people who wanted to do their business and who were in for profits.
As such, Mr. Waiswa is very grateful to participate in the project, which is promoting the revival of indigenous food varieties such as Mawalampa maize, their staple and income crop in the region. In Mbale district, the preservation of bamboo-based staple food called malewa is high on the agenda of Masaba Beekeeping Association. Malewa is not only enjoyed by many in the region, but also it is very important in some Gishu traditions such as circumcision and child naming ceremonies, among others.
Nenga malewa gali kitu kikulu nabi kulubegalefe lwe bamasaba anga kitu kefe kikulu nabi ke kikubula mu bwefe bwe bamasaba era nga bagadeki gabamalayi era galimo kirisa kirayi era nga wariye maleya kawe solomoti ufuna mu gakufunisa mu buzi yenara ka buzi na kweso ufuna mu maleya.
Despite its importance as a food source and raw materials for crafts and furniture, bamboo is threatened by the ever-growing population that has increased the demand for malewa and the other bamboo products. Masaba Beekeeping Association has therefore decided to sensitize people about the need to preserve this plant and is also equipping the members with skills to domesticate the plant and sustainably utilize the resource so that even the future generation will be able to benefit from it. In southwestern Uganda, Sustainable Agriculture Training Network, SATNET in short, is supporting farmers to revive the indigenous food varieties, especially the staples.
In Kienjojo, we looked at maize and cassava, and to small extent, peanuts. Then in Kasese, we are also looking at cassava on a large scale and maize. And then the other areas like Kabarore, we are looking at the bananas. We are also encouraging farmers in these farmer family setups to come up with at least 2 plots or one for commercial purposes, so you can sell as a household and get some income, which can also help you at home.
Ebitoke kusinga kwendewa muna abantu bakastoma baitu ibyo ebitoke nk'ebyaitu ebizalirwa hano Tooro, ebitoke ebitoro kandi ebitoke ebitoro nabyo saa zino bitirwe kyotoko rundo burwaire buno bwa bacteria obutwika mu byaro ebitoro bundi tukira tutabireta muno tuleta nga kitika haja akaijane ngeri ya nadzi balesere mu Kibuzi, Malawi n'ebindi bingi obundi tugurana ekitoke kya siringi omutwaro gumu n'enkumina kandi ijo kitundo omutwaro gumu na siringi enkumi 5.
Prometra Uganda is one of the non-government organizations in the central region promoting the use of traditional medicine as an alternative approach to ensure good health for Ugandans. Among other strategies, Prometra Uganda runs a training center where they promote the cultivation and utilization of indigenous food varieties, particularly those which have medicinal value, highly marketable, and with high food security potential. Increasingly, the public is opening up, accepting to grow and utilize the spotted indigenous crops.
Ekika ky'emmere eno ye mukulu Juni. Mu kugisimba kwayo teriiko budde. Weeyengerera bw'ogisima okwakasana era ogizzaamu mu ttaka. Teriiko nti nkuba. Era yo emyezi 4 mukulu Juni aba akuze n'etuyamba okugirya ne mu ddagala.
Ensujju eno kirime kyaffe kya wano okuva edda nedda kisooka kyakulya mmere ate nga ddagala. Era bw'oba olya ensujju yaffe eno kakuta kaffe kano si kalungi kuggyako, ketaaga n'okaliirako kubanga kalina ekiriisa muli kye kakuyamba muli mu mubiri. Ekyokubiri, ekibala kyaffe kyennyini kirina enkola nnungi nnyo mu mubiri gye kikuyambamu okuzzaamu amaanyi. Ensigo zaamu nazo nva ate ng'era ddagala. Ensangi zino ekisingidde ddala okuleetera ddala obuzibu mu bintu byaffe ebyaliwo ng'ensujju yaffe eno okuviira ddala emabega, byebintu bye bazze bakolamu bazaazaamu mu binne waabyo, kati naddira ensujju eno n'agizaazaamu ekintu ekirala. Kugamba n'ova ku nsujju eyaffe eyawano enzaaliranwa n'oli ekintu kye baleese kitwandiise oba maleeto.
Cassava, simple as it is, normally we eat it as a tuber, but the leaves are also very, very useful. You can dry them in the house so that you can crush them and get the powder. That powder is very good for chlorophyll, for the stomach when it is having some indigestion. So we use this one as a herb. And you eat it in food, you eat it in sauce when you are having even tea, and you maintain your body so that it is healthy. In Britain, in the hotels, juice made from this fruit, the glass costs you £4. But here, it is in plenty, we don't know its use. But in Britain, they know the use. So we should now change our attitudes and plant several of these fruits so that we can gain the market.
Indeed, making a fortune both as a food resource and an economic enterprise out of the indigenous plants, which many people have neglected. So far, so good. There is every reason to believe that Pelam Uganda's effort to promote indigenous foods will significantly contribute to sustainable agricultural development in the country. It is a timely intervention coming in to supplement the government's efforts to fortify her plant and genetic resource center, commonly known as the Entebbe Botanical Gardens. Currently, the center, a unit under the National Agricultural Research Laboratories Institute in Kawanda, is responsible for the conservation of Uganda's genetic plant resources for food and agricultural development in the country.
If we lose these land races, the future of developing other improved varieties is threatened. So we need to conserve what we have, manipulate it well in line with the new needs, because as the communities evolve or as the world keeps moving, new challenges come in. But our raw materials are these plant genetic resources for food and agriculture.
Besides collecting and keeping the genetic plant resources, the center is also empowering the community members with knowledge and skills to identify and conserve viable seed and vegetative plant materials. The unit also allows members of the public to freely access seed or planting material preserved both at community and national level, provided they follow the recommended procedure.
We are still giving it to farmers free of charge, and we actually give to farmers as in groups, not individual farmers, because groups are easier to monitor than monitoring an individual farmer.
Well, we have been able to document indigenous food in Uganda, though not exhaustively. We hope to do more documentation. We also hope to do quite a number of food fairs at national level, but also at regional level. We also hope to do market research and see how marketable the indigenous food is, so that as the farmers grow the indigenous food, they can easily market it as well. And also, we need to work with others, because with food you need the consumers, you need the farmers, you need the value chain actors, you need so many people to partner with. Like we have a neighbor, Spelam, Kenya. They've done a book on recipes for indigenous food and also promoted innovations with indigenous food, like using pumpkin flour to make chapatis, or different kinds of innovations with indigenous food, so that it is more attractive, especially to the young generation. And we plan to organize, say, learning visits to see what they've done. And also, we hope to work closely with the government to see how the indigenous food and its important aspects that address agricultural challenges we have today can be integrated in different government programs.
Success in achieving this goal will take a concerted effort. The sooner each of us realizes the need to play the respective roles, the better.
There are many stakeholders that are important in promotion, preservation of indigenous foods. Researchers, for example, of whom I represent, we would need to do research, the agronomy of those plants, to tame them. And then when you come to the extension workers, they would have to popularize these, make them feel like it is something useful. Even though we have the new varieties, but let's have them alongside what we have. And then the civil society, which actually plays a very big role, because for them, they work in specific communities. So these specific organizations in their communities would have to identify those indigenous vegetables that are under threat, for example, fruits or some other medicinal plants, and promote them. Teach people how to, use them in a sustainable way. But also, most importantly, I think that our leaders, here I mean that the policy makers, must come in strongly to advocate for policies that encourage sustainable, agriculture. And indigenous foods is part and parcel of a sustainable system.
Thank you.